Picture this, a 9-seat passenger aircraft lands on a soccer pitch, not a runway. A soccer pitch. It touches down at jogging speed, rolls to a stop in 150 feet, and the noise barely registers above a dishwasher. This is not a helicopter, not an EVTOL. It is a proper fixed-wing aircraft that just turned every empty field in the world into a potential airport. Today, meet the Electra EL9. Alright, let us start with what the EL9 is actually trying to replace. The Cessna 208 Caravan. If you have never heard of it, you have almost certainly flown in one without knowing it. The Caravan is the aircraft that quietly runs the world when nothing else can. It flies the mail into the Alaskan bush, hauls tourists into safari lodges deep in the Serengeti, runs skydivers up to jump altitude on weekends, carries FedEx packages between small American towns, and serves as the workhorse of humanitarian aid across half of Africa. Cessna has built over 3,000 of them since 1982, and for 4 decades, it has essentially had no competition. That is how dominant it is. But the Caravan has a few drawbacks that everyone in aviation politely ignores. Fuel burn. It consumes roughly 60 gallons of Jet A every hour. That's about 227 liters per hour. Fuel prices vary across the United States, but at around $7.50 per gallon, you're spending roughly $450 every hour just to keep the engine running. Fly a typical 8-hour day, and that's around $3,600 in fuel alone, before you've paid for maintenance, insurance, or the pilot. Operating cost sits at roughly $780 per hour all in, which for a small charter operator running 400 hours a year works out to over $300,000 a year just to keep the aircraft moving. Then there is the noise. The Caravan has one big Pratt & Whitney turboprop up front, spinning a large propeller, which is a problem for eco-lodges, a problem for game parks where you are trying to see wildlife, a problem for anywhere quiet. And then there is the runway. The Caravan is a short-field aircraft by big aviation standards, but it still needs about 2,000 feet of runway, around 600 meters, which sounds short, but which rules out most of the places you would actually want to land. Beach strips, grass fields, parking lots, village clearings, all off-limits, which is what the designers of the Electra asked. What if you did not need any of that at all? 60 gallons an hour, 2,000 feet of runway, a noise footprint that scares wildlife. That is the mission brief the EL9 was designed against. Now let us look at what Electra actually built. Electra is a small Virginia company that most people have never heard of, based in Manassas, about half an hour from the Pentagon. It was founded in 2020 by Mark Allen, who used to be senior vice president at Boeing. So this is not a garage startup with a dream. This is proper aerospace engineering with proper aerospace people. Their backer list reads like an industry who's who: Lockheed Martin, Safran, Honeywell, the US Air Force, NASA. Even Prism Capital led their $115 million Series B in 2025. Not exactly a lightweight checkbook. So, the money is real. What Electra chose to build is unusual. Instead of joining the crowd of EVTOL startups building weird helicopter drone hybrids that need vertical thrust, Electra picked the boring option. A fixed-wing aircraft. Wings, propellers, landing gear. Nothing exotic about the shape. Except for one detail. It has 8 electric propellers spread across the leading edge of the wing. 8 of them, powered by a single turbine generator in the fuselage. And that layout, which sounds mundane, is what actually makes the whole thing possible. Before the EL9, Electra proved the concept with a smaller 2-seat aircraft called the EL2 Goldfinch. That flew for the first time in 2023, over a year of flight testing. The blown lift technology worked exactly as the wind tunnels predicted, which convinced Electra to scale it up. And the EL9 is that scaled-up production version. Real aerospace engineers, real backers, a working proof of concept flying since 2023. Now, let us actually understand how this thing takes off from a car park. Walk up to the EL9 and it does not look revolutionary at all, which is kind of the point. Mark Allen has been very deliberate about this. He wants it to look like an aircraft, not a science project. high wing, tricycle landing gear, a tail, windows, the kind of shape a 5-year-old would draw if you asked them to draw an aeroplane. Length is about the same as a Caravan, wingspan a bit larger. It sits 9 adults comfortably in a cabin that feels like a modern regional aircraft rather than a converted delivery van, which, to be fair, is what the Caravan often feels like on the inside. Then you notice the wing. Along the leading edge, there are 8 small propellers, 8, each attached to its own electric motor. Behind the wing, enormous flaps that hinge down almost vertically when the pilot drops them. And in the fuselage, a single small turbine engine that does not drive a propeller at all. It just spins a generator. That generator feeds electricity to 4 independent battery packs. Those battery packs feed the 8 motors on the wing. That is the whole architecture. Turbine to generator to battery to motor. There is no direct mechanical link from the engine to any propeller, which is the sort of thing that would have made an aviation engineer laugh in 1990, but which now, quietly, is starting to make a lot of sense. Boring on the outside, radical under the skin. Now let us talk about the trick that makes the whole aircraft work: blown lift. Here is the physics in plain English. A wing generates lift by moving air over its surfaces. On a conventional shaped wing, air moves faster over the top surface than the air on the lower surface, and the pressure difference between the two lifts the aircraft, which means the slower you fly, the less lift you generate. Which is why many aircraft need relatively long runways. You have to accelerate to a certain speed before the wing generates enough lift to get the plane off the ground. Now, imagine you could artificially blow air over the wing without needing to move the aircraft forward. Suddenly, the wing generates lift even when the aircraft is barely moving. You have decoupled lift from airspeed, and that is exactly what those 8 propellers do. They blast air backwards across the wing surface at very high speed. The huge flaps behind the wing deflect that airflow downward, and the whole wing generates enormous amounts of lift at speeds where a normal aircraft would have fallen out of the sky. How much lift? During powered wind tunnel testing, Electra measured lift coefficients of more than 20. To put that into perspective, a conventional aircraft wing typically reaches a maximum lift coefficient of around 2, even with high lift devices deployed. That means the EL9's blown wing can generate around 10 times more lift than a conventional wing at the same speed. That's an extraordinary claim, and it's exactly what allows the aircraft to take off and land in remarkably short distances, which is why it can take off at 35 miles per hour. About 56 kilometers per hour. That is exceptionally slow. And when it comes to land, it comes in at even lower speeds. The Goldfinch prototype has been landing at 25 knots, roughly 46 kilometers per hour, which means the touchdown feels less like landing and more like slowly rolling to a stop in a car park. The redundancy is also clever, because you have 8 motors instead of 1. Losing a single motor barely affects the aircraft, compared to a Caravan where if the one big engine quits, you are gliding. On the EL9, you have 7 other motors doing the work, which is a completely different safety proposition. 8 propellers blowing air across the wing, lift coefficient above 20, incredibly low takeoff speed, which brings us to the number that has actually shocked the industry: 150 feet, 45 meters. That is what Electra claims the EL9 will need to take off and to land. Both. Full stop. Let us put that in context. A soccer pitch is about 110 meters long, so the EL9 will land in less than half a soccer pitch. A tennis court is 24 meters long, so you need about 2 tennis courts. A supermarket car park is roughly 40 meters of clear space between rows, so a large supermarket car park would, in theory, work. Now, compare to what the alternatives need. A Caravan needs at least 2,000 feet, about 600 meters, roughly 13 times more runway than the EL9. A Twin Otter needs about 1,500 feet, 500 meters, 10 times more. A Pilatus PC-12 needs closer to 2,500 feet, 750 meters, almost 17 times more. The EL9 is playing an entirely different game, which unlocks something aviation has spent 100 years trying to solve: where you can land. Suddenly, a beach becomes an airstrip, a meadow becomes an airport, a stretch of tarmac road becomes a viable landing site. That safari lodge in Kenya that currently needs guests to helicopter in, now they can fly them in on a fixed-wing aircraft for a third of the cost. That Alaskan fishing village that survives on one boat every 2 weeks, now it might have proper medical evacuation. That Greek island that only serves 50 tourists per season because the local strip is falling apart, now it can serve 200. This is not about incrementally improving air travel. This is about unlocking places that could not sensibly have air travel before, which is the pitch Mark Allen has been making to airlines and defense customers for 2 years, and it seems to be working. 150 feet, thousands of new potential airfields. Now let us actually look at the numbers everyone actually cares about: cruise, range, and what it costs to run. Here is where the EL9 has to actually be a useful aircraft, and not just a cool takeoff demo. Cruise speed is 175 knots, about 324 kilometers per hour, which is almost identical to a Caravan, and roughly 20% slower than a PC-12, so it is not fast. But it is fast enough for the missions it was designed for. Regional routes rarely benefit from cruise speeds above 200 knots, because you spend most of the flight climbing and descending anyway. Range with 9 passengers and their luggage is 330 nautical miles, about 610 kilometers, which is enough for pretty much every short-hop regional route that matters. And with just a pilot and light cargo, maximum ferry range stretches to 1,100 nautical miles, over 2,000 kilometers, so you can reposition the aircraft between operations without difficulty. Payload is 3,000 pounds, about 1,360 kilograms, which is 9 passengers plus their bags, or a serious cargo load, same as a Caravan gives you. Now, the numbers that actually matter for operators. Electra claims the EL9 will operate at roughly 1/3 the cost of a helicopter with equivalent access, and significantly less than a Caravan for equivalent passenger revenue. The turbine only runs to charge batteries and provide direct power during flight, so overall fuel burn is much lower than the Caravan's constant 60 gallons per hour. Noise? The Goldfinch prototype measures 75 decibels at 300 feet, about the same as a dishwasher, from 300 feet away. A Caravan at the same distance sounds like a lawnmower being run inside your kitchen. The difference is enormous. Same speed as a Caravan, same payload, a third of the cost, and quieter than your dishwasher, which raises the obvious question: why has nobody done this before? Because it is properly hard. Nobody has done this before because the technology to make it work has only just arrived. Electric motors light enough, batteries with enough capacity, turbo generators efficient enough. All of these components had to become mature at more or less the same time, and they only really have in the last 5 years. So the timing is right, but the certification challenge is enormous. The FAA has never certified a hybrid electric fixed-wing aircraft of this configuration. Electra filed their type certification application in December 2025. First flight of the actual EL9 is expected in late 2027. Certification is targeted for late 2029 to early 2030. That is 4 years away from customers flying paying passengers, which is optimistic. Aircraft certification programs routinely slip by 2 years or more, so realistically, the EL9 might not carry its first passenger until 2031 or 32. Batteries are the other question mark. Even in a hybrid design, you need serious battery capacity to handle takeoff bursts. 4 independent battery packs, which sounds redundant, but which also means 4 times the potential fire risk. Battery aviation has had some spectacular failures in recent years. Every hybrid design comes with weight penalties and thermal management challenges that add complexity. Then there is pilot acceptance. Career pilots trained on Caravans and Twin Otters have thousands of hours of muscle memory. Now you are asking them to fly an aircraft with 8 motors and lift behavior that looks completely different on final approach. That takes retraining, it takes trust, and it takes time. Finally, the money. Electra has not published a firm sticker price, but industry estimates put the EL9 at around $8 to $10 million per unit, compared to about $3 million for a Grand Caravan EX. So on a per aircraft basis, the EL9 is 3 times more expensive, and the economics only work if the operating cost savings actually deliver over a 15-year ownership horizon. Certification risk, battery risk, pilot acceptance risk, sticker price risk. This is not a slam dunk, but the pre-order book is real, which brings us to who has actually put money down. The order book is the most interesting part of the story. 2,200 aircraft, roughly $9 billion in value, 60+ operators. The first customer to convert an intent letter into an actual binding deposit was Bristow Group in January 2026. Bristow signed for 5 aircraft with options for another 45. They plan to use them for corporate transport, resort access, feeder operations for major airlines, and government service routes. Bristow is a serious operator. They run helicopters across the North Sea and around the world, and they know what remote aviation demands. If they are betting on this, they have looked hard at the numbers. The US Air Force is another major backer. They are collaborating with Electra on a military version because 150-foot takeoff distance opens up battlefield logistics options that no other fixed-wing aircraft can offer. NASA has been involved from the research side. JetBlue Ventures has invested through their venture arm. There are safari operators in Africa, island-hopping airlines in the Caribbean, medical charter operators in Alaska, regional carriers in Norway, charter companies in the Middle East. The customer mix is deliberately broad because Electra is trying to prove that this is not just a niche aircraft. It is a proper Caravan replacement across many different missions. Whether they actually deliver on that ambition depends on how the certification program goes. But the money is real, interest is real, engineering is real too, which is more than can be said for a lot of the EVTOL companies making noise in this space. Real customers, real orders, real money. Now finally, the honest question. Does the EL9 actually replace the Caravan? So, does the EL9 actually replace the Caravan? Honest answer, probably not all of them. There are things the Caravan does that the EL9 will struggle with. Really rough gravel strips where the Caravan's simple robustness wins. Very long ferry flights where a pure turboprop is more efficient. Extreme cold operations where batteries lose capacity fast. Anywhere maintenance culture is not ready to handle hybrid electric systems. For those roles, the Caravan will keep flying for another 20 years easily, but that is not really the question. The question is whether the EL9 opens up new routes and missions that the Caravan could never serve, and the answer to that is almost certainly yes. If Electra delivers on the promises, the EL9 turns thousands of empty fields into airports. 9 passenger flights become properly quiet, low-emission trips. Operating costs come down enough to make short-hop regional aviation viable in places where nothing else works. Game parks that currently rely on expensive helicopter transfers. Island communities that currently get 1 boat a week. Medical evacuation routes that currently mean an hour by pickup truck to reach a strip. Humanitarian aid drops into places nothing else can land. This is what the pitch has always been. And unlike most EVTOL startups, Electra has the engineering, the money, and the aircraft to actually deliver on it. Not next year, probably not the year after, but by the end of this decade, the world's smallest airfields might start looking a lot busier, and the humble Caravan, after 40 years of quiet dominance, might finally have a serious competitor. Not a replacement for everything, but something new for places where nothing else can go. If this made you think differently about aviation, go watch our other videos. Also tell us in the comments that would you fly on an EL9? Subscribe for more like this. Thanks for hanging out.